mic, bring the facts. Erin in the ring, no turning back. Kobe got the numbers clean and clear. Experts in the mortgage space right here. Housing issues, yeah, we dig deep. Every word weigh when the stakes don't sleep. Credit war, you can feel that charge. Every point hit hard, every stance large. Capitol Hill, that pressure stay high. Consolidation makes the small ones fight. Servicing trails, every detail counts. Say it plain, then we write it out. No surrender.
Oh my goodness.
America,
She went there.
let's go.
That was a quick costume change too. Wow.
That's incredible. Well, people need to know those tattoos are actually real.
Yes, absolutely.
And the hair.
Yes. I grew this out last night.
That's
Wowza.
amazing.
I love it. Did you have to buy that whole thing, or did you have that in the closet somewhere?
Well, listen, you don't want to know what's in my closet, buddy.
I think it's part of the,
That's a perfect segue because we're about to find out. We have a lot to talk about today. First of all, there's breaking news. Our friend, one of our FOTS, friends of the show, Rich Swerbinski. He doesn't have a bigger fan than me, by the way, just so you know.
I don't know. I'll fight you for that.
Real breaking news. Two Harbors Investment Corporation shareholders have voted in favor of a sale to Coby.
Cross Country Mortgage. It's happened. It's finally happened.
According to Rich, this sets up UWM for a spiral of epic proportions. We'll find out what exactly that means. I'm sure he'll be writing about it in the days ahead.
Yes.
And we'll certainly be discussing it in the days ahead. But before we do anything, we've got a lot to get through here today. Pulte, title waiver, PMAC, Senlar, VA IRL fee, which could really materially change the ability for veterans to refi. Fitzgerald, construction lending, the GSEs getting into the construction game potentially. Non-QM delinquencies. Are there changes happening right before our eyes? And student loans, 2% potential cap being floated around. But before we do any of that, we've got to see what's in Erin's closet. And what better way to do that than to bring on the woman that raised her? So let's bring on Erin's mom, Greg's mom, and Kobe's mom. And Coby, this was your idea. Hi, moms. How are you?
Hey there. Hi.
Yep, we've got all the moms under the kids. Coby, you came up with this idea. You get full credit. Tell us what you were thinking.
Well, as we come into this very special weekend that Erin is so artfully illustrating in real time, celebrating the birth of our country with her Trump voter starter pack outfit, we are also wanting to celebrate the births of the No Surrender hosts. And this week, we've done a lot of celebrating around the show. We've celebrated the FOTS, the friends of the show, and so many have raised their hands to talk about how much they love the show and the impact it's had on them. And I thought we should be celebrating our fans. We should be celebrating our country. But most importantly, we should be celebrating our moms, who are the reasons we are all here today.
They're the mots. They're the mothers of the show.
They're the mots.
I mean, we have to. I mean, let's start off with Erin's mom. Good to have you with us.
Hi.
Do you go by Jan?
Jan. Mm-hmm.
Good to see you, Jan. Are you surprised that Erin showed up in this outfit today?
I think she's rather calm. Yeah.
I mean,
it's tamer.
How much time would it take for us to cover the question, what was it like to raise Erin D?
It might take a minute or two. I can tell you a little story when she was a toddler. We were trying to get Erin to walk, and Erin did not want to walk. My cousin came over, and she had a beer in her hand, and she looked at Erin, and she goes, "Erin, you want a beer?" Up, walks right over to her. So I knew that.
America.
Yeah, America. Yeah, no, Erin.
What's more American than beer?
Yeah, exactly. I knew it. No, Erin has always been very smart. Erin has kept me on my toes, always. Very smart, very independent. You never know what she was going to do. She probably could write my name better than mine because I know she used to sign all the things from school.
Yeah. I can sign your name like a champ.
Yep. She's good at sneaking out of the house. I know that. She's good at having a small birthday party. Small, and then I find out 50 kids are there. And the day before we sold the house, we had to scrape off all of the confetti. And icing and everything that was on the ceiling. So I love her to death. I am so proud of my daughter, and she's always been dynamite. And when you guys started this show and it was no surrender, I'm like, oh my God, that's Erin. That is so Erin. So.
How old was she the first time you got a call from school?
Let's
see who wins this contest.
Honestly, you want to know?
Yeah,
I
the
got
truth.
a call from preschool.
How old?
Yes.
How old? Yes.
Yes. She
Give us
was
a
not
guesstimate of how
minding.
old.
Yeah, I wasn't surprised, but that one wasn't too bad. And actually, I think a lot of the stuff in high school, I probably either didn't know about it or she had somebody answer our phone. So I looked at it this way. Well, honestly, Erin, I've said this to you. When Erin was growing up, she was either going to be in jail or a CEO. One of the two.
Still undecided. Still undecided.
TBD. Both are equally optional at this point.
Could be. Yeah.
Coby, take the horns here.
Oh,
Yeah. I know that Erin and I have been dying to find out from Annabelle what it was like having Greg in the house. And Greg talks a ton about what a pain in the ass he was as a kid. And we just want to know from you, is that true? And give us a little bit of context around that.
well, you guys know it's true. Look at the intro to the show, what's going on so far. I mean, are all these mothers going to be the same, have the same story to tell? I can just imitate what was just told. First of all, I have to say that we have 3 sons. The first was a challenge. The second one was a pleasure and a joy. And the third one was a pleasure and a joy. That I'm serious. That's Greg. Until he reached 2. And the terrible 2s, I'd say they left when he went to college.
What was the seminal moment though? What's the seminal moment when you were like, oh my God, this kid's different?
Well, let's go back. Let's go to sneaking out of the house.
Okay.
Greg snuck out of his bedroom window. I have no idea how he got out and how he got back in. And I didn't know till many times after he had done it. I think you confessed, Greg. So that was one. Greg's question, when did you get a first call from the school?
Oh, yeah.
3 years old. I was at work and I got a call from, there were 2 headmistresses. They were about 60 years old, 55 to 60, short, little chunky, gray hair, very proper. And they called me at work and asked me if I would stop by on the way home and meet them in the office. So I did. And they said, Mrs. Scher, we would just like you to know that for all the good money that you're spending in here, he's spending so much time in the office. And I can't repeat what they said.
Yes, you can. Actually, you can.
No.
Yes,
no,
you can.
I can't.
Yes, you can. We insist.
I can't do it.
You can use.
Well, okay,
better.
I can use. All right. They said, Mrs. Scher, for all that, we just cannot have Greg running around the playground saying F you, F you. So that was,
That's
does
3.
that give you enough background or do you need more?
No, that's good. That's good.
He
Mom.
hasn't changed a bit. I love
right.
it.
Yeah.
I would say we definitely want more. We're going to have you back for sure.
All right,
Yeah.
all right, Esther, you're up. This man Coby, who was bartending during COVID, he's got quite a story beneath the hood here. So, tell us about Cobes. Tell us about Coby. What do we need to know?
Oh, wow. You have like 3 years? No, I'm not kidding. I'm just kidding. Ditto. I do want to say ditto, because I think we all have children that are very intelligent, that always thought they were smarter than us from birth on. And we truly enjoyed it. There were a lot of challenges going from preschool. Our favorite one was when he was in first grade. Coby read very quickly. He was one of the first readers, so he was always very bored, but he was always correcting the teacher. So one day he really got upset with the teacher and he said to her, tomorrow you can mark me absent because I'm not coming to school. And yeah, so that's just a little blimp of it. But we've had our, you know, preschool, elementary, high school, college, but you know, we're here, thank God, and we're very happy. And we've got this in the past, like we all do. So, but we've got some good memories too, which is very, very, very important to us too. Go ahead.
Keep going.
No, so that's really the crux of it. I mean, you know, this is that little picture of Coby is a very innocent picture. Yeah.
I would like to know who
So,
was
yeah.
Coby's most embarrassing celebrity crush when he was a kid.
Celebrity crush. Oh, wow. Coby. I'm blanking on that one.
I mean, in fact, it was probably Don Mattingly, the first baseman of the
It was
Yankees.
probably
to be
John
honest.
Travolta.
How about Greg?
Let me
Who's
ask
Greg's-
you what Coby asked my mom. When was that moment you knew he was different?
About 6 months old.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. Coby's always been independent, that I could tell you. We were in Israel when he was about 11 months old, and he was walking and running and everything else. And this gentleman came up to us and he said that he said, wow, how old is he? And we said he's 11 months old. And he said, I have to take pictures of him. And we were like, my husband and I looked at each other and we were like, wait, what? You're taking pictures of, like, you know, we were kind of like askance on this. And he said, no, I'll send you the pictures. Don't worry. And Coby was posing for him and, like, you know, running back and forth and everything else. Sure enough, 3 months later in the mail, we got pictures of Coby at the Kotel. And it was amazing. And he wrote us this beautiful letter stating how he was so impressed with him and how so independent, and he was, you know, and he just cherished the pictures and cherished him. And that was that was a pleasant surprise. So, yeah, he was, yeah.
Touching and creepy at the same time.
I was going to
That
say
story.
that leaned heavy on the creepy, but I love it.
Yeah,
But it's a
yeah.
beautiful
We
story.
were kind of like, do we call the police on here? What do we do? You know, but we were, you know, we let it go and we figured, okay, we've got our child with us. We can leave the place now. And that was assurance. So we let it go. But it was pleasant to see a letter coming from this gentleman and praising our child. So
We got to
Is
turn
he
this
still
around. We got
following you, taking pictures, Coby? Like, do you still get pictures from him in the mail sometimes of you in the shower? Or
I send him stuff every once in a while. We still keep in touch.
Well, I think that
It's,
we should turn this around before we let our moms go and turn this into a serious thing for a moment and talk about what we got from our, you know, what can we attribute our success, what elements of our success we can attribute from our mothers. And for me, it's very easy. My mom is super smart, uber hardworking, very loyal, you know, very dedicated. And I think I got my grit and my work ethic from her for sure. So thank you, Mom. I appreciate that. I will say I was the hardest kid to raise. I got kicked out of, I don't know, how many schools do you think, Mom, legitimately? What's the number? I'm being serious. What do you think? If you had to guess, what is the number?
I'd have to go for 3. It could be 4.
Wow. So, I mean,
Good
it's more than that
trifecta.
for sure. I
Got
can
me
think of
beat.
3. I
lot
can
of-
think of 3 just in high school. But it was not an easy road, and here we still are. And I owe a lot to you, so I appreciate it. All right, Erin, your
Well-
turn. Let's talk about Jan.
First, I would like to say, Jan, at least I wasn't that bad. So come on now. But
True.
yeah, you know, I say the same. So one of my favorite stories about Jan is whenever I was on vacation from school for a day or a week, whatever, she would have me go to her office and, you know, collate papers, do basic things. 2 weeks later, would get paid a paycheck, but she would deduct taxes out of that paycheck. And so, you know, I would say work ethic and kind of my understanding of what the work system is like, and probably my initial hatred for the government.
Good girl.
Huh?
Well,
Last
love
but
you,
not
Erin.
least-
At
last
least
but
my
not least,
taxation
Toby.
system.
Here we go.
Well, I've told this story many times about how I got my start in mortgage working for my mom, who's been in the mortgage business now for almost 40 years. I think she's got almost 40 years in. So next year we'll have her back on to celebrate her 40th year in the business. And I started, and then when I was 10 years old, helping her in the office, 10, 11 years old. And then when I was 19, 20, she got me my first job at Fleet Bank on the East Coast. And I remember I got to that job and I thought I could just call my mom every time I had a question about something, and she would just be my Claude or my Chat GPT. And very quickly, she made it clear that I was on my own to learn the business and to figure it out and to find my own mentors and find my own resources. And I remember being very upset about that because I was like, what do you mean? You're my mom. You're supposed to help me. But she taught me how to help myself in that first job. And that's a lesson that stayed with me ever since. And now coming into my 29th or 30th year in the business, it's still very much with me. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. So today we celebrate you three moms. Nayoung, pop on here real quick before we let him go. I do have a question. Come on, Nayoung.
Hold on, moms. Stay on.
Get on here, Nayoung. Where are you, Nayoung? You better be listening. There she is. Nayoung is responsible for putting all these crazy ideas together. Nayoung, without naming anyone in particular, how long would you say it took cumulatively to get the moms to figure out how to use the links, what to do, the whole thing?
Cameras, microphones.
If you had to package it up in the last couple of days, how much time did you have to dedicate to this?
I would say, let's just keep this a one episode only kind of thing.
Okay, well that explains it. Needless to say, hours.
It's hours.
We're there. We're there.
Okay. All right, Nayoung, thank you. Moms, any closing thoughts here before we let you roll?
But they did great. They did great.
I think we all love you guys. We all love our
Definitely.
Absolutely.
So
Erin,
Thank you for the opportunity.
Greg, after all that, so could not be prouder of you. You're just a super guy. Seriously.
Love you.
Even with all
Thank you guys. Yeah, it was really a pleasure.
Thanks for coming on.
Bye.
All right, see you later.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Erin,
awesome.
do you continue to wear that outfit the entire show, or do you return back to Erin now that we're shifting focus?
I mean, do you want me to take this outfit
What do you
off?
think, Cobe? I'm
do you
50-50.
think?
I might be
say leave it
55.
on.
I might
want
be
to leave it on.
55-45. You want to leave it on?
Yeah, because all the clips now are going to be like her talking about serious topics, looking like that, and that's gold. It's going to be like, why is Kid Rock breaking down the VA?
Listen,
funding
Vox
fee?
Populi, Vox Dei.
Yeah, we're gonna have these clips going around. I think maybe time to swap it out. I don't know. That's what I think. There you go. Come on. Let's get back to Erin D.
I was overruled.
Okay. Back
Is
to
she
Erin
frozen?
D.
Oh my goodness. Whoa, what was that, a hairnet? What the hell was that?
Like a skull cap.
Yeah, it was a wig. Yeah.
That's amazing. Just, don't go robbing anybody after this. All right, if you need a loan, we got
Put the
you.
tracksuit back on too. But now you're stuck with this. I can't do anything about this. So
I mean, it looks great on you. On second thought, please put it all back on. All right, so all right, let's get into the news because we got a lot to go over here in the next 40 minutes. That was amazing, Coby. Great idea. Thank you for suggesting it. Really came together. We're so fortunate to have our moms, right? I mean, mine's in
Absolutely.
my 80s. I don't know about you two, but every day is a precious gift. So at the top, we talked about cross country winning out the bid, according to Rich Swerbinsky of Two Harbors. Any thoughts on that before we get into it?
I think it's
Early
probably
moments.
the right decision. Probably the right decision, but we'll see.
Yeah, early moments here. This did feel inevitable for a long time. Then there was a period of time when Two Harbors tried to vote twice and they couldn't get enough shareholders in, where it looked like was it 3 times that got canceled? 2 or 3 times where it looked like the tide might be turning in UWM's favor, and it looked like Matt Ishbia might have pulled a victory out of nowhere. But much like the referee in the World Cup match last night, at the last minute, their legs were taken out from under them, and cross country stumbles across the finish line here. And what this means for UWM, I think those opinions are across the board right now. I'm not sure this is the initiation of a death spiral, but I know that opinion is out there. But certainly not a good look. Certainly a big L for UWM. But when you're playing in the major leagues, the L's get plastered across the scoreboard, and you got to deal with it. So interesting to see how they come back from this.
Yeah, well, there was an announcement today that also this has not been a good day for them because one of their biggest groups that sends a lot of business to them, run by Mike Cordes, Nexa, also had an announcement to make. I don't know if you guys have this at your fingertips right now. I think that you do. So he announced a new initiative and is going to be, I think, co-issuing potentially with also cross country. Who can read his post? I don't have it queued up here. Erin,
Oh, I
you want to take the horns here?
No, I don't have it up here. I don't
Okay.
have it up. Probably not best.
I'll grab it really quickly, but
Okay.
so Mike announced Evolend.
Yep.
He announced Evolend. It's the evolution of the mortgage industry, the way it should have been for loan officers and for loan officers, because they are exactly this industry should be about. He doesn't specifically mention cross country here.
No.
But it is mentioned. I'm not sure by whom, that they're going to be, spinning off servicing in multiple directions, potentially getting into a deep relationship with cross country. I think there's a lot here to unpack. I think that on a positive note, not predicting any downfalls, I think we've really got to tip our cap to what Ron's been able to do at cross country. I mean, he's playing in the big leagues.
Definitely.
He's big time. He's crossing over into servicing. Now he's crossing over into the servicing acquisition game, potentially co-issuing. There seems to be very little that he can't accomplish when he wants it.
Well, and I think, now is the perfect opportunity. It's almost like the Berkshire Hathaway model, right? Like the industry right now is in a down phase, and he's taking full advantage of that. And so when things pick back up again, he's going to be absolutely poised to be at the very top of it.
Yeah, it's a scramble. The other thing for UWM that I talked about a couple of weeks ago was the fact that they were just recently put in contempt of court by a federal judge for not putting Matt Ishbia out to testify in the case with Atlantic Bay, where Atlantic Bay is challenging UWM's all-in mandate to say, this is not, there's disparate impact here, and it's a penalty, it's not actual damages, and that could be the end of the all-in mandate. And so if we look at them losing this deal, their stock price plunging, losing the all-in mandate, does that create a whole different future landscape for UWM and the broker channel, especially if Nexa starts to go their own way? Nexa, one of the biggest, if not the biggest, in the broker channel right now. So lots to see, lots to kind of wait and see here. But I still, for as much as I criticize UWM, I still respect what they've built, and I still respect their operation. I still respect certain parts of how they're committed to the industry, and I kind of feel like if anybody's going to find a way to recover from this and regain their footing, it's going to be them. So I still think we're going to see an act 2 here.
Yeah, I think an interesting way to look at it is you're only as good as yesterday, right? I mean, Matt Ishbia rewrote the book here. You got to give him, if you were looking to give somebody credit for taking the broker channel from a paltry 8% up to the 28-30%, he would be the guy. He would be on
Absolutely.
that. He'd be the only face on that Rushmore, and he deserves credit. Having said that, things change. And just like BlackBerry couldn't figure out what to do to become the iPhone, this could be UWM's BlackBerry moment here. I hope it's not. A lot of respect for what Matt's built. I mean, it used to be that you could say to someone you were recruiting, don't go the broker outlet because you won't have any control over your files. The tech is terrible. You'll never be able to get a hold of anybody. The pricing will be awful. All those things are not true anymore. I mean, if anything, they excel in every one of those departments, and you've got to give Matt credit. So definitely don't want to lose sight of that. Let's jump into the Pulte title waiver. That's not it, Coby. I don't know if you gave me anything here, but I've got so many things on my screen. Essentially, Open Door bought Doma, and Doma built the GSE title waiver program, which has been extended. Coby, you have some very strong thoughts on this as it relates to Open Door somehow finding their way into the mainstream plumbing of the GSEs.
Yeah, it's a story of innovation having strange bedfellows. The title waiver program, I think it's great for the consumers, great for the industries. What they're doing it in a limited geographic area, 80% or less LTV with no historical defects. There's 2 vendors that are at the crux of this. It's Doma and Westcore that were selected. Doma I think it was already after they were selected as a partner, and they just had never been profitable since they went public in 2021, was subsequently purchased by Open Door. And so now Open Door, this company that spreads malicious falsehoods about the industry being this bloated, profitable industry that adds 300 to 350 basis points of margin to every deal, they're now embedded with a GSE program meant to alleviate costs on title for a whole swath of consumers. So it's interesting to see, okay, we've got this good program. We like it. It's good for consumers. It potentially could expand beyond where it is now. But who are the people that are involved with it? And I think that's interesting. And I've have a lot of beef with Open Door for just the marketing campaign that they've spread, and they're all over Twitter constantly talking about how our industry is bloated, our industry makes too much money, and we're ripping off consumers. And I don't even think we're giving them enough attention as far as what they're doing, because this is a coordinated, massive campaign on Twitter. If you go on there, you'll see what I mean. On the other side of this is the title industry, and the title industry is involved now in this protectionist campaign because they want to keep their piece of the pie. And they're saying, well, you can measure defects in a pilot program for a couple of years, but really what happens is you'll see the results of this in 8, 10, or 12 years. And that's when the rubber is going to meet the road, and we'll see if there are really some negative implications here. So the title company, specifically Alta, which represents 6,400 different title companies and title agents, massive lobbying power in Washington, is fighting this. They've already gotten something like 40 or 45 senators to start pushing back on this. And we'll see where this lands. So ultimately, is it going to be the consumer that wins here, or is it going to be the lobbyists? And then we can start to pick apart who the partners are in this program. So there's so many layers here, super interesting. But I do love that. I'll give credit to Pulte. That he's doing something to actually lower the cost of buying in our country. He's actually doing something. Look at that.
Really?
So yeah.
You ever heard of Vantage Score? Have you seen that 10T just got released?
FICO 10T, yeah.
Do you think that happens if Pulte's not in office? Because I'll
give him credit for that too. I'll give him credit for that.
I mean, that's a lot. Too. That's a lot of credit. Okay, those are
a lot of credit.
Things.
That's it. It's all you're getting out of me today. It's enough.
Yeah, Erin, what are your thoughts on the title waiver?
So I think I tend to trust Coby's instincts when it comes to the Open Door DOMA. I'm not going to get involved in that. My concerns are, we are seeing a rise in fraud and title claims. We are seeing a rise in fraudulent deeds. We are also seeing, we just talked about this the other day, AI lawsuits that are being filed that are BS, right? And so in my conversations with people in the title industry, shout out to my friends of the show, Natalie Hill et al., is that it costs 6 figures to defend against a bogus title claim. And so now if we are starting to go and have where borrowers do not have this duty to defend, duty to protect against these fraudulent claims, that we could be setting consumers up for very, very expensive legal processes that they're currently protected from right now. And so I am concerned that this could not be the consumer protection that we think that it is, to save $1,000 or $1,500, whatever, on title. I'm very concerned because of what AI especially is perpetrating, and how we know that there are people that will go and take advantage of loopholes and will take advantage of gaps in legal protections to go and file lawsuits. And I'm very concerned that even if these are bogus and can be batted away in court, that consumers are not going to have protections here.
All right, that's good on that. I mean, for me, consumers are saving money. Title has been
future scary. Hang on to the status quo, right?
That's fine until you're one of the ones that has having to pay $150,000 to defend a baseless claim.
So the specific things a mortgage company should worry about: no insurer's reserves behind the loan when a defect surfaces. That's one thing. We're kind of talking about it. Less exposure shifts to whoever holds the paper, the lender, servicer, GSE. Title has been egregious, and I know because I owned a title company once upon a time, and I saw the amount of the premiums that we were able to keep. So it's good that there's progress being made. If consumers are benefiting, I'm not sure they're going to be the ones holding the bag at the end. Normally they are, right? So I'm good in watching this play out a little bit. Let's shift to the VA IRRL fee increase. This is something that kind of came out of nowhere. Our good friend, Brendan McKay, he runs the Brokers Action Coalition, has been working really hard, both on Capitol Hill and behind the scenes, to make sure that this doesn't happen. What's being projected is potentially the refi fee going from 0.05 to 1.42. And just to give you an example, on a $325,000 loan, that fee will go from $1,625 to a little over $4,600. and that's going to take the recoup period of time close to 5 years, which will knock a bunch of people out of contention for getting the ability to refi. It completely smacks in the face of what the EARL is all about. On the other side of the coin, it does help, some veterans that are in even worse shape, disabled veterans and such. So it's a very, very tricky situation here. It's like anything else. You got to look at it and see what the benefits are. In this instance, so many veterans have gotten into loans with the promise of being able to do an EARL behind it, and they have served our country. We need to protect this for them, find another way to get to the funds, and some have been appropriated already. I asked Brendan McKay this morning to give us the absolute very latest on the progress of trying to thwart this momentum, and here's what he had to say.
Hello, no surrender. Brendan McKay here for a quick legislative update on a bill moving through Congress that has caused the funding fee on EARLs to go from 0.5% to 1.42%. It is part of the Take Care of American Veterans Act. This is a package of veteran bills, many of which would enhance benefits for some veterans, but all at the cost of others. Once it got rolled in there, it was all hands on deck. Industry groups came together, started collaborating, syncing our messaging up, and pushing back. We honestly thought we were dead in the water in the House. There was a vote scheduled for last Wednesday that we thought was going to pass. But then the day before, in response to pushback from industry groups as well as from veteran groups, that vote was canceled. So where are we at right now? Well, we're still in trouble. This very much could still happen. But given the Senate schedule, we don't think there's going to be a time for a vote until later this year. So for now, it appears we have time, but that could change, and it could change very quickly. So we need you to make your voice heard and make it heard now. If you have not already, please complete the back's call to action. It is written in channel agnostic manner, and every single letter matters. We've already sent 866, and they are making a difference. Thank you, Greg, Coby, and Erin. Back to you guys.
Whoa.
So first of all, were you playing that at like 2.0 speed, or did
No,
he
no. What it
crack
was
in his
is-
cereal this morning?
No, it's not that. It's that I challenged him to be a minute or less. And so he initially sent me a note saying, hey, I'm at 90 seconds right now. Will that work? I said, you got to cut it down. So, I mean, he was talking, he's probably still catching his breath from that, but what a
My
great
heart's
job.
beating from
No,
listening to that.
he's just, that guy is amazing. Let's just call it what it is. And, I love how he points out channel agnostic, right? Because there has been friction between broker and the guy just wants what's best for the consumer, right? And so he's definitely all of us. He's one of us. But let's get to the issue, because this can bypass the committee and go straight to the floor, and it can do a lot of damage here. Erin, we'll start with you on this.
Yeah. So first I'm going to say, Greg, this is where you and I differ, because I usually challenge guys to be a minute or more, not a minute or less, but that's a whole other topic. So, I'm honestly just super frustrated with the lending industry, people constantly coming and dipping their toes in the lending industry. Do you want me to stop for a minute?
Oh my God.
How
red is my shirt? Is my
It matches
face
your
redder
shirt?
than my shirt now? Oh my God. Well, all right, keep going.
No surrender.
Right.
Well done.
Okay,
Well
so-
done. Bravo.
The one thing that we need to clarify is you can actually deduct the funding fee from your recoupment period. So that is like a caveat that I want to give, but that doesn't make this any better. And the fact that we are funding one veterans program on the back of another veterans program is absolutely egregious. When this was originally proposed in November, they were trying to remove the exemption for second use from disabled veterans. So maybe this is a little bit better, but you're still using mortgage lending as using that to benefit other programs. And we all want veterans. And I think there's other ways we can look to find the funds. Don't subsidize one set of veterans for another set of veterans. It's just absolutely bad policy. NBA, BAC, CHLA is all behind this. All of the veterans groups are against this. All the veterans groups are against this. And I just don't understand why we are trying why we're having to hurt one set of veterans for another. It's absolutely egregious.
I mean, Coby, can you imagine rates going down, 1% to 5 7/8, and not being able to help veterans that you put in at 6 3/4 all of a sudden because of this?
Yeah, I mean, this hurts the active military and active duty more than it hurts anybody else. Those are the people that are moving around, they're buying houses, or the people that are just recently, the veterans that have just recently retired and or discharged and are moving their families. I heard Gay Veal on Sarah Wheeler's podcast, I think it was yesterday or this morning, and she brought up a good point. Gay Veal, very prominent broker now, served in the Air Force for 30 years. And she said, this is not a veteran responsibility to fund other veterans. This is essentially an American responsibility. We have a responsibility as American citizens to take care of our military and those that are putting their lives on the line. And without draping myself in the flag here, she's 100% right. You know, the other thing that this does is on subsequent VA loans where disabled veterans were exempt from the funding fee. Now you're only exempt from that funding fee if you're 80% disabled or more. The bar for anybody 70% or less on a subsequent VA loan is now no longer eligible for the waiver on the second time around. Now, if you're 70% disabled, that's still a significant set of injuries. Imagine if you lost 70% of your capabilities today, and what that would look like for you. So again, we're not just punishing people on the refis, and look at all the people that are coming out of the last couple of years with VA loans who were told, you know, wait for rates to come down a little bit because here's what your funding fee is going to look like. Here's what your payment could look like. And now, you know, that's changed dramatically. So that's unfair. But then also taking away that benefit from the subsequent VA loan use, that's bad for the industry, bad for our military, and just a bad look. And there's just other ways to fund this. And I don't like the way this is set up. And I don't like the way that we have to challenge it and point out the fact that you're taking from one, you're robbing Peter to pay Paul, so to speak. You know, I think we should all come together and get rid of this thing as fast as possible.
There's another part here that we're not talking about, and maybe it shouldn't matter. NFM, my company, we're probably 15% VA loans. The industry as a whole is probably 10 to 12%. And in a favorable rate climate, that number goes up even more. And so we're already in a rate compressed environment, a revenue compressed environment. And so there's that factor too. That should probably be the last thing that legislators worry about. But for us inside the trenches and at mortgage companies, it's a scary thought to think that we can't add VA IRRRLs when the going gets good. Before we move on to the next topic,
before we move on, I need to make a quick correction. When we were talking about the UWM, Coby said Atlantic Bay. It is not Atlantic Bay. That is in the lawsuit with UWM. It's Atlantic Trust. And so just want to make sure we make that.
No problem. Appreciate you doing that. As long as you go back and correct it, it's good. Hey, we've been talking about this FOTS thing, and we have a logo now. We're getting swag built up. If you're a FOT, an FOT, you're a friend of the show, right? And a friend of the show is actually a FOTS. And if you're from Boston, that's not going to sound good, by the way. Try and say FOTS 5 times in a row. But we have a friend here that we know is watching. We love this guy. I mean, who's got better energy than Larry Silver? I mean, this is a Maryland guy. He mentors young athletes. The guy, he's someone that gives back in every way possible. He's also a hell of a recruiter, by the way. He helped us grab our direct-to-consumer guy. Just a big shout-out to our boy Larry Silver. Cobe?
He's also the guy that took pictures of me when I was 11 months old. I don't know if you knew that. He's the same guy.
All right. Now, for some reason, Coby, you cannot stop talking about this right here. And Erin and I have been busting your balls a little bit on this. The PMAC Cenlar acquisition. PMAC, of course, acquiring Cenlar subservicing business, roughly $740 billion. And recently it closed its Franklin, Tennessee site and cut customer direct roles, citing macro conditions, rate outlook with severance and some internal transfers. You feel like this could be a canary in the coal mine. Tell us why.
Well, PMAC recently, they're about to close. I don't think they've completed the deal with Cenlar, but Cenlar, you know, the $740 billion in unpaid loan balance, 2 million loans, the direct-to-consumer call channel with rates that don't seem to be coming down. So you think about, you know, where MSRs are in a high rate environment, they have more value. You think about where a direct-to-consumer division has in a high rate environment, they have less value. And to me, it's like, well, we've seen the industry take servicing more and more seriously, and it's become more and more prominent as a play. I think the Cordis post today just shows you where Nexa is thinking about servicing as a recruiting and retention play with loan officers to have them get in on the action as far as the income. And I just feel like, you know, are we going to start to see this push away from, or this pull away from direct to consumer operations, and more towards what can we do on the customer retention side on the servicing? So, which also has a direct to consumer element. Let's be clear on that. But PennyMac doing better in terms of originations year over year. So the layoffs to me are not, even though they talk about it being the current market environment, I think it's a strategic play because they're still a top 5 lender with year over year gains. And I just think it's interesting as we continue to see servicing become more of a strategy than ever and more of a component of a mortgage company that's becoming a pillar. I think to me it's worth talking about and thinking about. So that's why I was interested in it. I know you two thought it was kind of a non-story.
Yeah.
But to me,
sure.
but to me, when I see a top 5 lender make a move like that, I have to think, well, what does it mean for the rest of the industry?
Yeah, I think it's one office. I think you applaud them for being proactive. They made a bet that rates would go down. All of a sudden, bombs started dropping, and they pivoted quickly. More companies should pivot quickly like this. So I tip my cap to them. They're one of the stalwarts in our industry. I don't expect that to change anytime soon, and I don't think there's anything we should really read into it other than everyone's making adjustments right now based on forecasts and how we were forced to pivot, from what we thought would be an environment of sub 6% rates.
That office was only open since 2022. I mean, that's we know rates are going to be higher for longer. We're not going to have that environment. And also that same week, PennyMac, also just announced massive investments in AI, voice technology and all of that. So I think they're just kind of doing what we all know where the industry is going for this.
Yeah, you guys are making my point for me. This is exactly, I just thought it was worth mentioning and worth noting since we have the pulse of the mortgage industry.
Oh, I like that. And soon we'll have even more of a pulse when I have my podcast with Jen McGinnis, the wonderful Jen McGinnis. We're going to be starting a show called The Pulse. So thank you for that layup, my friend.
No
Supreme Court and the Fed. The Supreme Court rules Trump can't fire Fed member Lisa Cook, grants him more power over other independent agencies. And Coby, sort of kind of like the what we just covered with PennyMac, nothing's really changed for the CFPB or FHFA. I mean, they have been at the beck and call of the president here since I think 2021, something material happened. So, there are a couple more departments where the president can push people out, many more departments, but the Fed is still protected. And I think that's the most important thing here. To me, it's official now. It can't be done. The vote was 5-4. I think it happened on June 29th. Erin, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important, a couple of things. One, to say it's not that Trump can't fire, it's that there's a procedure and a process that has to be followed, and he did not follow that, right? So it has to go back. She has to be notified. She has to have the opportunity to defend her case, right? She has to be given due process. And that's why that is so important, especially with the Federal Reserve, is because this organization sets monetary policy, right, and executes monetary policy that doesn't only affect the United States, but it affects the whole world. And so we need to make sure that that's not blowing with the wind. And so now Trump has to go back and he has to follow the process. So it's not that Federal Reserve governors can't be fired, period. It's just that there actually has to be cause, and you have to follow a procedure. And that is absolutely important. It's important in following the rule of law. You have a federal government terms that have 14 years. And there's a reason for that. It's because they need to be able to withstand the winds of politics, right? And so I think this just helps reinforce this, and I think it was the right decision.
Yeah, I agree. I think it affirms the independence of the Fed. The fact that the Fed is a quasi-private agency to begin with, and as Erin pointed out, the staggered terms and just the expectation that we have that they're going to be able to guide us without interference. And I think this is a reaction to all of the haranguing that the president did of Jerome Powell in the last year of his term. Does it further protect Warsh when he's looking at this ruling to say, okay, I was appointed and I was a friend of the program, but I still have to now act independently, and I've got my own term to consider after Trump leaves office. So what does it mean for me now? So I applaud it. I think it was good to kind of say, hey, you can still get involved in publicly calling someone out, but you can't just stack the board with people that you think are going to do what you want to do to further your own economic policies. That alone has estimated to inject about 150 to 200 basis points into the market in the wrong way. So I think this independent affirmation, I think, is good for is good for the Fed. It's good for monetary policy. It's good for us in the mortgage industry.
Let's do the Hackalier Warsh check if we can. First week, you thought the guy was full of it. Second week, you were starting to warm up. It was a wait and see. We have a little more data this week, the way he's been behaving and presenting to the market. What do you think now? Are you warming up even just a slight bit more to him, or are you still where you were last week?
I would say warm is probably a strong word. Tepid.
Okay.
Would you like the word tepid? Yeah,
Okay.
tepid.
Negative connotation. but we'll
I'm
take
running
it.
my fingers are under the faucet. I'm testing it out. We'll see.
He's not
Yeah.
ready to put his toe in yet, though. He's not ready for that
Yeah,
bubble
no
bath.
no toe. It's like a tip of my finger, just the tip.
Just
Just a
the tip. How many
the
fingers,
tip.
more importantly?
I think two.
How
I
many
think two is
fingers
the
does it take
appropriate-
for you, Kobe, to get that good feel?
with Kevin Warsh?
Yeah.
It's at least 2 or 3. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. Very good. All right. Excellent. All right. Let's shift now to the Fitzgerald construction lending bill that would let GSEs buy construction loans for the first time, opening up a new capital channel for builders targeting middle income housing. Kobe, this was just introduced June 26 as part of a 3-bill package. What do we need to know?
Yeah, Fitzgerald is a congressman from Wisconsin, very active in opining on housing policy based on the committee that he's in. His last big statement, by the way, was about limiting Fannie and Freddie conventional loan limits. He wanted to limit that and push more money into the private secondary market. So didn't agree with that. Do agree with this. This is part of a 3-part bill that also wants to take Fannie and Freddie out of conservatorship. He says enough is enough. It's time for it to come out. But we'll focus here on the construction end. I really like this bill because it's the first time I've seen a politician at least acknowledge that, hey, we've got a massive supply side problem and we need some solutions. And so what he's wanting Fannie and Freddie to do is back construction loans, which they've never done before. And not only back construction loans, but back construction loans for people that are in a certain segment of median income, so that more starter homes can be built. Where this misses the mark, I don't think it misses the mark, but I say where this falls short is that you can provide better financing and bring a lot more people into the construction loan game and make it cheaper. It doesn't solve the labor problem that construction has in keeping its costs down. We lost about 2 million construction laborers during the Great Recession. And it also doesn't eliminate any of the permitting and zoning issues that we have at the local level. So it provides financing that's probably 1.5% to 2% cheaper if it were ever to go through, but it doesn't solve the problems on the other end, which is labor costs are too high, the zoning costs are too high. But I think it's a step in the right direction, so I applaud it. And when we look at it juxtaposed against the Road to Housing Act that I thought was full of a lot of meaningless gestures, this one has real levers attached to it that I think could actually help us. So I applaud Congressman Fitzgerald. I want to see more of this stuff and keeping this conversation in the forefront.
Erin, can it happen if the GSEs are still in conservatorship? It doesn't feel like it could.
I mean, there's probably still levers for that, but I mean, I think that the conservatorship is such a bigger issue, and I don't know that bill that he put forward really kind of addresses what it's going to do to the market. But in terms of supply, I agree with Kobe. Generally speaking, I think that it's clear we're not going to have one solve all problem to our housing issues. We've got to have lots of little small fixes. His idea about changing the way the loan limits are set is pretty interesting to me. The conforming loan limit, instead of tying it to values, he wants to tie it to income. And if we had done that, the average, if house prices had moved with income over the last 40 years, the average home price would be $291,000 right now. So that's a very, very interesting tact there. But the thing that I'm concerned about this is I don't know that it's going to meaningfully help at all, right? So if you look at the areas because what's attached to this bill is that you have to be building homes within the 80 to 130% AMI. And if you look at the average cost to build in those areas, homes are already being built in that AMI affordable area. So yeah, maybe you're going to have a little bit cheaper cost to build. That's always a good thing. Is it going to bring more supply for people that couldn't otherwise get it? Probably not a lot. In the areas where they need it the most, in the Northeast and on the West, the cost to build is so much that you can't build homes within the 80 to 130% AMI in these areas for what it costs to build. So it can't do anything in those truly tough markets. And so again, it's another on the margins thing, but is not going to have a massive impact.
Just want to let everybody know
conversation
that,
starter.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure. In the comments, if you want to submit your vote against the proposed VA hike on the refis, the link is right there in the comments. So please go in the show notes. It's very easy to fill out. support this for us so that, veterans can still get a really nice, easy, cheap IRL when rates qualify for that. Non-QM. So, Erin, you and we must be talking to different sources. I mean, I think we all see that there is some fracturing there in certain aspects. We know about what happened in Baltimore. We know that there's certain pockets, but you first brought to my attention with Coby during our production meeting this week that that's starting to spread a little bit more, and that you were hearing that some of the lenders, wholesale lenders, were starting to move and tighten things up somewhat, not drastically, but in terms of appraisals and other things, especially around the DSCR.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that I checked with our underwriting manager, and we just closed 170 of those non-QM loans for about 170 million in June. Not seeing anything on the baseline ratio, anything on below 1, which I know you feel strongly about, and we're seeing some tightening on appraisals, a little bit more scrutiny there, for people that don't have any previous skin in the game, we're seeing some things bubbling up there. So if you're living with your parents and you've never owned a home before, and you own no property, they're making it a little bit tougher. But I know you've got sources, and you're hearing a different variation of the story.
No, I think I'm hearing the same thing, is where DSCR, especially on the DSCR portfolio, but generally speaking, non-QM lenders are starting to make adjustments based on what they're seeing in the market. I had dinner last night with a non-QM lender, and same thing mirrored, where especially DSCRs and especially around short-term rentals, they're tightening up their guidelines there, right? And so the short-term rental thing is a big deal, but to get below a 1.0 DSCR ratio, you've got to have a much lower LTV. You've got to have a lot more assets, in the bank. And so what I think we're seeing, and I think the crux of this is that everybody's, not everybody, but the people that are out there saying that non-QM is the new subprime, what we're seeing is completely different than what we saw in subprime, because we are actually seeing them make adjustments in real time to delinquencies. Delinquencies are getting higher in the non-QM space, but it's led primarily by bank statement loans, P&L loans, right? That's really where we're seeing the delinquencies. Generally speaking, DSCRs are still performing pretty well, and they're making real-time adjustments to the guidelines. And we're also seeing in adjustment to fraud, something that we didn't see during the subprime time, or the lead up to the great financial crisis, is you're seeing lenders actually communicate and discuss what they're seeing from a fraud standpoint, and trying to make adjustments there as well. And so I think this is all positive.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, Greg, you actually made the point when you said you're not seeing big changes. What you are seeing is a little bit more thoughtfulness and intentionality.
Yeah.
The 2023 vintage, when we were coming out of the rate shock and lenders were scrambling to make loans, maybe we got a little bit too loosey-goosey. Remember, the non-QM stuff is only about 11 or 12 years old total. So in 2023, it was 7 or 8 years old. It was still in middle school or elementary school.
Getting kicked out of 4 of them.
Getting kicked out of 4 of them. In 2025, the numbers already start to look better. We're projected to do about 175 billion this year in non-QM as an industry. In 2005, 2006, 2007, what did we see happen? We saw the guidelines getting looser and looser, and more products coming, and the CLTVs getting higher. We saw every time we saw one vintage of loans, go through, we were like, all right, well, now we can go from 110 to 125% CLTV. We're seeing the opposite now. We're seeing a lot more discretion. We're seeing 65 DSCR go to 1 and above. But that 2023 vintage is scary. It's 11% 30-day DQ. Do you know what else was 11% 30-day DQ? The height conventional loans at the height of the Great Recession were 11% 30-day DQ. So it is a scary number. Obviously, that percentage is tiny compared to what those numbers were, but the percentage was the same. So certainly something to think about, but there's no way to make the comparison now definitively that non-QM is the next subprime. It is
I'm happy to see this, because I threw a lot of caution to the wind, thinking that they would just be overzealous and throwing more and more and more at this. The question I have, though, this is a real question. I don't know the answer. Previously you had the big banks that were participating in subprime, right? You had Bank of America, Chase, all these people. On the non-QM side, you've got Deep Haven and some other lenders. Are the big banks the ones that are, buying this stuff, or is it the tier under? And you're saying no, and that's what I thought. And
Yeah,
so I
it's the
think
big
that,
institutional investors,
well,
especially
I
insurance
think that's
companies.
that's probably why they're
Yeah.
it's not getting lost in the shuffle. They're being smarter. They're being more protective of their money. So that is certainly an element to consider there. And great if this doesn't turn into a disaster. It doesn't seem like it's going to. So thank you for bringing that news to us, Erin and Coby. I know you'll continue to track it. Just one side note on this. Of the 170 million we did at NFM in non-QM loans, 65% in June were DSCR, 20% bank statements. The biggest growth we're seeing right now, this comes from our underwriting manager, 15% were asset loans. That's asset qualifying, money in the bank, portfolio of assets. To me, that seems like, the creme de la creme. So I love that that's growing. Be great if that could take more market share, right? Because there's real meat on that bone. Lastly, let's get into this idea that student loans could potentially, there's a bipartisan bill to cap federal student loans interest at 2% retroactively. Coby, I think you brought this one to the fore. I'm just like, Biden paused it, I think shortly after COVID or before COVID, whatever. Like, we keep talking about how to rejigger these loans that people took out. I'm the guy that when a guy signs a 5-year contract to play in the NFL, and he has a banner year after 2 years, you can't come back to the table and say, pay me more. Like, you agreed, like, if you've got a student loan and you've agreed to the terms, pay the terms, right? Because someone's got to pay the price when we take that 8% or that 7 or that 6 and knock it down to 2. That money's got to come from somewhere, and we're fiscally not in any position to be cutting corners there or anywhere else as a government.
Yeah, but we have lied to our younger generations about college and what these degrees mean and how much money they're taking out to get these degrees. The university financial industrial complex is one of the biggest lies ever told. And we've basically given money by the trillions to student loan borrowers to get degrees that don't necessarily translate to anything in terms of real world work and real world opportunities. And so I think there is a comeuppance to be had. And I think just because you signed a deal doesn't mean you have to live by that deal, especially if that deal was signed under a faulty premise by somebody who was 17 or 18 years old.
Is so interesting to me, Coby. Can you give me an example of how somebody was misled into wanting to go to college and take out a loan and pay 7%? How were they?
Well, just look at the degrees
they were going
people
to get
graduate
something
with.
they didn't get?
Just look at the degrees people get. I mean, the example I love to bring up is, you can get a $300,000 worth of student loans to study Egyptology. Guess what you can do with Egyptology? You can teach Egyptology. So there's that, and there's so many liberal arts degrees that don't mean anything and don't translate into real world skills. To me, most kids right now are and we've talked about this on the show, most kids are better off going to some kind of trade school or vocational school than burying themselves in debt before they even get into the workplace. And we wonder why kids are waiting till they're humans, adults, waiting till they're 40 years old to buy a home. Guess what? Because they've got massive student debt with massive payments every month, and they simply can't afford it, and they're falling behind, and the wages aren't growing. So we've perpetrated this massive lie on our younger generations. We're still in the midst of it, and if we want to give them some relief, I think we should.
Yeah, this isn't landing with me. That's like saying someone went to school to be an architect, and now that business is not what it used to be because AI suddenly appeared, and
that's not analogous.
Okay.
Not analogous.
Whatever. No, the point is nobody is forced. You're saying that they were propagating lies. Like, if you decide to sign up for an institution, you should know what that profession pays. You should have a good feel for what you're getting into, and I don't agree.
But what we're talking about here, there's two different things here. One is you're talking about knocking the student loan interest down to below to what the government's costs of funds are. So now you're asking people that didn't take student loans, people that paid for it themselves, worked 3 jobs in high school or in college like I did, people who went into vocational school. Now you're socializing those losses. Now they're having to cover the delta between the cost of funds of the government and this 2%. But this is treating the symptom and not the disease. Coby hit the nail on the head, but he didn't take it all the way. So yes, absolutely. Student loan money is too easy to get. You allow these 18-year-olds to get in and take out with like no limits, all of this money, right? They can't discharge it in bankruptcy, and the universities have zero skin in the game. What we need is a structural fix to our student loan system. You need caps. You need to be able to discharge it in bankruptcy, and you also need universities to have skin in the game, because I guarantee you things will change if they have to start being responsible for this. And we've seen, I don't think that it's just by accident that we've seen an actual explosion of all of these for-profit universities when we've made student loans so easy to get. And what we're seeing now, because now everybody knows what an absolute bane in our existence these student loans are, people aren't getting them. MBA programs are down. These private universities are now losing money and people are not going. And so I think that this is good, meaning like we've seen how bad this is, but we need to make a structural change to the system.
Yeah,
From
the
our
structural
industry's
change should be
perspective.
lowering costs. It shouldn't cost you $90,000 to go get a liberal arts degree.
Correct,
Well,
but when the
that's what
government
she's
will
talking
continue to fund it, where is their incentive to lower the cost
No.
of tuition?
This is all about votes. Okay. You're talking about the most educated people, and neither party wants to stick them to what they agreed to. So this is why this has been bounced around so much, because you want to be on the side of the people that are educated, because those are the ones that mostly vote.
Well, I don't think we should be subsidizing student loans. So to be
I don't know
clear,
about that.
I don't think we should be doing that at all. But we have to structurally fix the system itself. That's the problem.
And this
Coby?
should concern us as an industry. We've got potentially by the end of 2026, 13 million student loan holders to go into default. 2 million now, 13 million by the end of 2026. That should concern us if we're thinking about qualifying people with these high payments, and now they're going to go into default.
And that's going to, they
But
can't
yeah,
get it.
Erin's right. The universities have no incentive to police themselves. They have no incentive to keep the cost down, because they know that no matter what they raise tuition to, the students are going to get the loans to match it. And that's a broken system.
College
It's
is
incentive.
a racket. You want to start fixing cost of mortgage, cost of everything, like the cost of that education, those 4 years has gotten way out of hand. And absolutely,
That's our
families should be having conversations about, is it worth it? I'm talking to my kids all the time. I talk to my wife, who's a doctor. She went to school for 17 years. If you're going to be a doctor or a lawyer, you can't avoid that. You should go do that. But for my kid who loves to code, I see no reason why he should go to college. He's not going to be either of those other two things. He's going to build shit, and he's going to sell and do things like that. So I'm not interested in him going to college, most likely. And I know a lot of people my age that have kids my age that feel the same way. Is that bad? Is that sending the wrong signal? To me, you
No,
get kids
absolutely
out in the
not.
workworse sooner.
No,
It's a better
we
thing.
applaud that. That's
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know you do. I'm not
You
arguing.
should,
Toby.
but taking student loans to 2% is going to have the opposite effect. It's the wrong incentive. You're just going to encourage people to borrow more.
You made a deal. You signed a piece of paper for 7%. Coby's saying these people were misled. You knew what you were getting into. Pay the fucking bill.
I'm not sure they all knew what they were getting into when they were 18 years old.
These are 18-year-old dum-dums. Listen,
Yeah.
you know where I stand. I'm not for subsidizing it, but I
But
also
yeah,
think
They're not,
do
they're not
agree-
18.
I do
First
agree
of all,
with
they're
the
not
premise.
18. They have parents, most
Yeah.
of them. Like, come
I
on.
do agree with the premise that if you lower it to 2% and then you keep giving out the money, then all you're doing is incentivizing the university system to keep raising their tuition. That's not what it has to come with, guardrails and a fix for the future to say, okay, here's what it's going to look like going forward too. There
this bill
has,
don't do it.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So
Otherwise,
how do
it's
we-
runaway
how-
train.
How do we solve it? Shouldn't people just pay their debts? We can talk about a reset. or no?
Caps on what you can get discharged through bankruptcy, university skin in the game.
At the very least. Yeah.
Yeah, or maybe less universities, or maybe more universities collaborating, working with each other to bring down costs. I don't know. Anyway,
Work 3 jobs like I did.
you did, but apparently you were a very bad girl, according to your mom. Sneaking out of the house, Erin, what the hell were you thinking?
Sir.
A couple other things that are happening, and then we got to give a shout out to another FOTS. Non-farm payrolls increased 57,000, slower than downwardly revised 129 number. This came out this morning, added in May. Household employment plummeted during the month to 507,000 fewer people reported to work. And then also FICO 10T released historical FICO 10T data sets, loan performance from April 2013 to September 2025. We'll have to get into all that stuff on the next episode. And before we say goodbye, we got to pay homage to one of the great guys in this business, Tim Rude. And this newsletter is
Love
a
him.
must have. He's got 10,000 subscribers and growing. Impact Capital is just it's the most important piece that I read every morning. It's the daily dose of real estate created by Tim and the DC advisory firm Impact Capital. Just a couple of things that he covered in the last couple of days. The Fed keeping its shield. We talked about that, the 5-4 vote. Everybody else lost theirs, talking about how everybody is subject to the president's iron fist. But then he peels it back another layer and says, then the staff too, a June executive order, the newest version of a policy once called Schedule F, stripped job protections from senior career employees and made them fireable at will. So, and then he says the bottom line, agencies that write and enforce the mortgage rules are becoming far more answerable to the White House and far easier to reshape by removing the people inside them top to bottom. Perhaps the most salient point, this is a newsletter you must subscribe to. Kudos to Tim Rude.
Love him.
Good guy. Anything else, folks?
The cards.
Oh yeah. What happened to that?
They're here. You want me to pull this up right now?
Yeah. So Coby, we just talked about having a baseball cards, mortgage baseball cards. So I decided to create some in the style of Garbage Pail Kids for the three of us. So we're kicking off the trading
I actually
card.
have cards in front of me. I'm a sports card collector. I don't know about the RIP. That's a little sad.
On the green shirt?
Did I die? Is that my old shirt? Like what's going on?
That's the funeral shirt.
That's the shirt. That's the funeral shirt. Okay, got it.
Yes.
Got it.
Yes. So, I'd like to see a new trend. I'd like to maybe we can see some mortgage garbage pail kids out here. I love these are my favorite as a kid. So thought I would give a nod. There's a few
Why do I look like
show
Billy
references.
Crystal?
Oh, how about the best part of this whole thing? You do look like Billy Crystal. I pointed that out. is right on the left side of Kobe's picture, that picture of Elizabeth Warren for president. I don't think Kobe would mind that, honestly. I think he might be okay with that.
I don't like Elizabeth Warren.
Okay.
But everything else is spot on. Including the fact that including my t-shirt, I do love touchdowns. Thanks, Aaron, for pointing that out.
Hey, what about this feminist AF? Is that you?
I think
Where?
it is. He's
Right
got
here.
his little pink hat.
On your computer, on the back of your computer, it says coexist
yeah.
and then
Well, of
feminist
course.
AF.
No one supports women in this industry like you and I, Greg. Yeah, of course.
All right, buddy. I'll buy
Especially-
that. Well, look, we got through this somehow. I thought this would be like a 9-hour episode. Happy 4th of July to you. Thank you to Na Young. We just love her. Always pushing all the right buttons. We're not taking a break next week, right? We're full throttle ahead.
Let's go. I'll be
Absolutely.
broadcasting from Houston next week.
And I'll be in Ocean City, Maryland.
Ooh, all right. Let's go. Happy 4th of July, everybody.
I'll be right back here.
America.
Until then, happy 4th.
No surrender on the show. We go toe to toe. What's fair? What fails? Who gets the own? Hot news, hot takes, raises.